Well, not only applications have vulnerabilities, but also cryptographic functions have vulnerabilities as well. And some crypto functions are available, like ciphertexts and weak ciphers and crypto implementations. In this video, I want to cover the basics across some cryptographic values and vulnerabilities and what to do and how we prevent them. So first one is SSL and cert errors. And there's a couple of things for cert errors. So typically, once we go to a website, and we go HTTPS, we know that that website then is using a function of SSL to, provide a level of encryption. That way the data remains confidential and obviously attributing to, remember our CIA triad? We had our confidentiality, our integrity, and our availability, right? Well, that's part of that process is to ensure that the data remains confidential in nature, the data is encrypted and the certifications and the certificates, I should say, is used part of that process. So sometimes certs may not be set up correctly, right? So either maybe the user or the admin, I should say, has maybe used that on a different host or a different server or something, right? And it's maybe pointing to the wrong application or the actual wrong function of that application, right? So sometimes we need to be mindful and wary that SSL cert errors do occur. And what do we do about it? So how do we fix the SSL problems? Well, sometimes the certs have expired, right? So it's about renewing that cert. Maybe we have to go through that certificate authority and get them to reissue a new cert. Or maybe there's a process internally how you're going to go away and do that. Is it installed again on that wrong host or the wrong server and then redeploying that to the correct and accurate machine? So being aware of finding these errors, defining what they are, and obviously fixing them. As we move on, we've got weak crypto implementation. So typically older types of encryptions are obviously no longer safe and they shouldn't be used across environments. We see these still quite aggressively across different external perimeters of customers. This can obviously sometimes allow, now I've never, ever seen someone crack, crypto keys, but there is that risk that it could happen one day or someone does do it. So, sometimes when we go away and we look at those things, that could potentially be a risk. We take that into consideration where someone can go away and then decrypt the data. And then obviously, that can cause some sort of business issues, right? If we can encrypt the data, we can actually see the information. So it may be at risk, right? So that's weak cryptographic values. How do we prevent them? Well, the first thing is we don't use weak values. So MD4, MD5 is not secure as well. Don't use RC4, RC5. These are not encrypted values. So we've also got DES and triple DES, right? Triple DES. They've been around for too long. The values and the keys are not as long enough, and the actual encryption algorithms themselves are not secure. And I'm going to put one more here as SHA-1, right? So don't use these ciphertexts or don't use these actual cryptographic values if you can. Now, I say if you can because sometimes they're there by default or whatever the thing is. Maybe someone hasn't looked at it. Get rid of them if you don't depend on it. The other thing is our weak ciphertext. And typically, our ciphertext is made up of a couple of things. One, it's made up of a protocol. Two, it's made up of a key length. And three, it's made up of a hash. And all these stuff we should know, and obviously our videos we've been going through this together. So if we look at the protocol, let's say maybe in this protocol we're using DES, the key length itself may be something like 40, 56. It just defines the parameter of how long that actual key string is, and then the hash. So DES may use something like MD5, for example. So we can then sort of say, well, the protocol that's used is DES, the key length is X, and the hashing algorithm that's used could be, in this case, MD5. So weak ciphertexts, it's basically using weak SSL TLS ciphers, and then obviously encrypts data and submits that data across the web, right? So we've seen this a lot of times where we've seen weak ciphertext. So that goes on to the risk, right? So that goes into our risk register that we are using weak ciphertext. And what do we do about it? Well, traditionally, the way we prevent these are, well, don't use them if we can, or use other encryption standards, right? So go back to our advanced encryption standard if we can, right? And flip over to 128 or 256, use a better encryption, better encryption that's available. Now, chances are either the old encryption tool sets like DARES, Blowfish, they're not really dependent on anything. You can just go away and then just remove them from the actual server. And that's pretty much it in terms of our cryptographic vulnerabilities. I hope you found this video useful, a nice little overview. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, see you all in the next video.